If you're on Medicare and you have high-priced name brand drugs, you may have noticed that halfway through the year, your drug prices skyrocket. But why is this? Hi, I'm Larry Goist, owner of LMS Insurance Group, where we help seniors navigate the Medicare maze. So in today's short video, I'm telling you guys all about the Medicare donut hole. And I'm going to be covering three real basic topics today. So number one is, what exactly is the donut hole? Number two, I'm going to tell you guys some tips to avoid hitting the donut hole. And then thirdly, I'm going to tell you about some big changes coming in 2025 regarding this gap. And that's all coming up next. Hey, before I dive in, don't forget to hit that like button. Definitely subscribe to the channel if you find this type of information helpful. I really appreciate you doing that. So what exactly is the Medicare donut hole? Well, the Medicare donut hole is also referred to as the coverage gap. And you hit this gap once you and your insurance plan, your Part D plan, have paid $5,030 towards drug costs in 2024. So imagine you had a high-priced name brand drug, a drug like Tradjenta, which is very common these days to treat diabetes and certain heart problems. So if you had Tradjenta, you might start the year paying a fixed copay, right? You might pay $47 every time you went to pick up your Tradjenta. Now, the drug plan that you're in has a negotiated cost that they get Tradjenta for. Now, that cost might be $400, it might be $500, but you're only paying $47 every time you go fill it. And then out of nowhere, that $47 copay doubles or triples. And that is because your drug costs, what you've paid plus what your plan has paid, hit that threshold. It hit $5,030. Now, once the total spending has hit that threshold, you no longer get to pay just a $47 copay. Now you have to pay, you're in the donut hole, you're in the coverage gap. You have to pay 25% of that negotiated cost. So using Jardiance as an example, say your drug plan had a negotiated cost of $400. So you now have to pay 25% of that cost. So 25% of $400 would be $100. So you're not paying $47 anymore when you go fill it up. You're actually paying a $100 copay while you're in this gap. Now, you don't just stay in this hole forever, okay? You actually come out of the donut hole once your total drug costs have amounted to $8,000. So if the share of what you've paid and your plan has paid has hit $8,000, you hit what's called catastrophic coverage. And in 2024, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, once you hit catastrophic coverage, the drug plan has to pay all costs remaining. So the Medicare beneficiary now pays zero the rest of the year. Now, it's also important to note, when you're in the coverage gap and you're paying 25% of the cost, your insurance plan is only paying 5% of the cost. So now you're at 30%. Well, who's paying the other 70%? The other 70% is the manufacturer's discount. And that's what's helping you get to this $8,000, okay? So the 25% that you're paying for the drug and that 70% manufacturer discount are tallied towards your out-of-pocket limit. So once those two things now get you to $8,000, you come out of the donut hole, and the insurance company has to pay all of the costs for the remainder of the year. And then, of course, that resets on January 1st the following year, and you're back to square one. So if you're on prescriptions like Tradjenta, Jardiance, Trulicity, Ozempic, Mounjaro, Eliquis, you are likely, especially a combination of two of those, you are going to hit the coverage gap. If you only have one, you might not get to $5,030, but A combination of any two of those, you certainly are going to hit that threshold where you'll be paying 25% of the cost of the drug. So how can you avoid hitting this gap? Well, there are a few ways that you can avoid hitting the donut hole. The first is if you qualify for LIS. So LIS stands for Limited Income Subsidy, and that is for people or Medicare beneficiaries who have limited income and limited resources. If you qualify for LIS, you are not subject to the donut hole. These rules do not apply. For more information on that program, I have a completely separate video, and that is attached in the description below. The second way you could try to avoid hitting this gap is you could go directly to the manufacturer and get the drug through them. You see, there are a lot of manufacturer assistance programs available today. And if you qualify, you're now getting the drug through the manufacturer. You're not running it through your Part D plan, so you'll never hit that threshold. But each program is different. There's different income parameters, and they're not guaranteed to accept you. I have put a few attachments in the link in the description below for the most common prescriptions we see, and I've put some assistance programs down there. If you don't see your prescription on the list, email us because we might have an assistance program that you can apply for. So the third way you could try to avoid hitting the coverage gap is if you're on one of those high-end prescription drugs, you could try to get samples from your doctor. Because again, if you're getting samples, you're not filling it through the Part D plan, so it's not pushing you towards that threshold. Now, outside of those three resources, there are not really any other ways that you can avoid hitting this coverage gap if you're filling your prescriptions through the Part D drug program. But the good news is changes are coming in 2025. So again, because of the Inflation Reduction Act that was passed by the Biden administration August 16th of 2023, starting next year, 2025, all drug costs for Medicare beneficiaries are capped at $2,000. So if you have a Part D drug plan and you have spent $2,000 on drug costs, in 2025, everything else goes to zero the rest of the year. You have no copay or no co-insurance if you have paid $2,000 out of pocket for prescription drugs. And with all these changes and different pieces of legislation, it really is hard to keep track of this stuff. And that's what we're here for at LMS Insurance Group. If you guys need information on different prescription assistance programs, you need more information on the donut hole itself, please use the information in the description below and reach out to us, as me or one of our Medicare benefit specialists would love to advise you and give you some tips on how you can reduce these costs. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you next time. Hope it was helpful. Thanks.